In a world where a single act of kindness can rewrite destinies, this is the story of hope, sacrifice, and the unexpected bonds that form when hearts dare to trust. If you're moved by tales of resilience and transformation, hit that subscribe button to join our community and never miss a journey that inspires. Liam stood at the edge of the bustling flea market, his small hands clutching a toy car that gleamed with a once vibrant red color. The toy was more than just plastic and wheels. It was a symbol of hope and a reminder of a simpler time when his mother's laughter filled their modest home. For Liam, every scratch on the toy's surface carried a memory, a sunny afternoon in the park, a gentle smile from his mother, and a promise of a better tomorrow. Liam's mother, Anna, had been battling a relentless illness for months. The cost of her medication had mounted beyond their means, leaving them in a desperate situation. Despite her tender wishes for him to stay at home and rest, Liam had taken it upon himself to make a sacrifice. He resolved to sell his beloved toy car to raise enough money for the medicine that might save his mother's life. As he navigated through the market, Liam's small figure looked almost out of place among the busy throngs of shoppers and vendors. His heart pounded with both fear and determination. Every face he passed seemed to be preoccupied with their own lives, unaware of the quiet battle unfolding before them. The toy car, though seemingly insignificant to onlookers, was to Liam the embodiment of his love and commitment. It was a token of all the dreams he held for his mother's recovery and for the promise of a brighter future. Every detail of that day was etched in Liam's memory: the sound of chattering crowds, the smell of street food sizzling on nearby grills, and the distant hum of a city that seemed to move too quickly for a boy so tender in age. Yet, amidst all this chaos, Liam's resolve never wavered. He set up a small display table in a quiet corner of the market, arranging a modest collection of his cherished toys. But it was the toy car that shone above the rest, drawing his entire hope and determination. With every call to the passing crowd, Liam's voice trembled with a mix of innocence and earnest desperation. "Please, anyone, buy my car," he would say softly, his eyes shining with unshed tears. Despite his gentle pleas, few stopped to listen. For the boy, the moment was about more than money. It was a defining moment of selflessness, a choice to put his mother's needs above his own small desires. Every second felt like an eternity as he waited, hoping for the miracle that could change everything. In that moment of solitude among the market's clamor, Liam's sacrifice was as quiet as it was powerful, a silent vow that no matter how small or insignificant he might seem, his love for his mother was boundless. The red toy car was his hope on wheels, carrying him forward on a path paved with love, courage, and a determination to overcome the seemingly insurmountable obstacles that lay ahead. At the heart of the bustling flea market, Liam's tiny display stood out not for its extravagance, but for the deep, palpable emotion it carried. Every detail of his carefully arranged assortment of toys told a story of innocence and quiet resolve. Despite the gentle glow of the early morning sun filtering through the market stalls, Liam's corner remained a small island of hope amid a sea of busy shoppers and haggling vendors. Liam had spent the entire night before setting up his display. He arranged his toys with a meticulous care that belied his young age, ensuring that each piece was perfectly aligned as if they were part of a grand collection. Yet, it was the modest red toy car that was the true gem of his display, a symbol of his willingness to sacrifice something precious for the sake of his mother's well-being. With trembling fingers, he had placed it at the very center, its glossy surface catching the light and reflecting a promise of healing. The morning air was cool and crisp, filled with the murmurs of people bargaining and the occasional laughter of families on weekend outings. Liam's voice, soft and earnest, cut through the ambient noise as he repeatedly called out, "Will you buy my car? It's only $10. His plea was not just a request. It was an appeal from a heart that knew hardship and was unafraid to show vulnerability. However, the reality of the bustling market soon became apparent. Many of the passers-by were absorbed in their own conversations and routines. Shoppers hurried by without a second glance at the small table laden with toys. Occasionally, a curious onlooker would pause, their eyes briefly meeting Liam's hopeful gaze, only to continue on their way with a distracted smile. In those fleeting moments, The gap between hope and despair became painfully clear. One particular encounter stood out in the chaos of the market. A middle-aged man, whose eyes softened as he took in the sight of the determined young boy, stopped at Liam's stall. His interest was genuine, but as he examined the toy car, he frowned at the proposed price of $10. "It's a nice car, but I can't pay that much," he said, his voice filled with reluctant regret. His words, though kind, struck Liam deeply. The young boy's heart sank as he watched the man walk away, leaving him feeling more desolate than before. As the day wore on, the challenges mounted. The sun climbed higher in the sky, and the once friendly market began to feel indifferent to Liam's plight. The quiet desperation in his voice became a subtle echo amidst the boisterous calls of vendors selling everything from vintage jewelry to handcrafted trinkets. Yet, even as the initial spark of hope began to dim under the weight of rejection, Liam refused to give in. He continued to speak, his voice growing stronger with each attempt, determined to keep his mother's hope alive. Every no he encountered was a blow to his fragile heart, but with every setback came a renewed determination. Liam's struggle was not just a quest for money. It was a journey of self-discovery and resilience. In the midst of a world that seemed to have no time for his suffering, Liam's gentle persistence served as a reminder that even in the smallest of lives, great courage could flourish. And though the day was long and the market seemed unyielding, his silent determination laid the groundwork for the unexpected twists that lay ahead. In the midst of a day that had begun with so many disappointments, fate intervened in the most unforeseen manner. As Liam's hope began to dwindle with each passing hour, his small figure stood quietly in his corner, the red toy car reflecting the last glimmers of fading sunlight. It was at that moment that a presence unlike any other approached, a tall, imposing man in a sleek, impeccably tailored suit. This man was Ethan Walker, a renowned billionaire CEO whose life had been defined by success, boardrooms, and strategic decisions. Yet on this day, in the midst of the ordinary chaos of the flea market, Ethan's sharp eyes caught sight of a young boy whose posture radiated determination even in the face of despair. Something about Liam's demeanor, so fragile yet steadfast, stirred a long-forgotten sense of empathy in Ethan's heart. Ethan's approach was quiet and deliberate. He knelt down beside Liam's stall, his presence immediately commanding attention even as he softened his expression. "Hey there," he began in a gentle tone, his voice a striking contrast to the assertive timbre usually associated with his business persona. "I couldn't help but notice your car. Can you tell me more about it?" His words were sincere, filled with curiosity and genuine concern. For Liam, who had grown used to the disappointment of ignored pleas, this sudden inquiry was both surprising and comforting. Hesitantly, he explained that the toy car was not just a plaything. It was the key to saving his mother, Anna, from the clutches of a debilitating illness. Liam's voice wavered as he recounted the hardships his family had faced, the mounting medical bills, and the quiet bravery it took to make such a sacrifice. Every word carried the weight of his dreams, and every tear that shimmered in his eyes was a testament to the silent battles fought daily in his young life. Ethan listened intently, his mind racing with memories of his own childhood, a time when small sacrifices seemed monumental in the quest for love and care. The sincerity in Liam's voice and the raw vulnerability in his eyes resonated deeply with him. In that fleeting moment, the towering presence of a billionaire softened into the compassionate heart of a man who had experienced his own share of loss and heartache. The conversation between the two was brief, yet profound. Ethan's usual businesslike composure gave way to something far more genuine, a willingness to pause his relentless pace to truly understand and help another human being. He asked Liam a few more questions about his life, about his mother, and about what the toy car symbolized for him. Each answer cemented Ethan's resolve that this wasn't a mere transaction, but an opportunity to make a tangible difference in the life of someone who had so little. In a world driven by numbers and deals, Ethan's encounter with Liam was a reminder that sometimes the simplest acts of kindness could have far-reaching consequences. As the flea market buzzed around them, an unspoken promise began to take root, a promise that this unexpected meeting would alter the course of both their lives. For Liam, the encounter rekindled a fragile hope, and for Ethan, It was the spark of a transformation that would soon lead him down an entirely new path, one defined by compassion, connection, and the power of selfless love. Ethan Walker's mind raced as he stood before Liam's modest display at the flea market. The conversation he'd just shared with the young boy had stirred something deep within him, a longing to break away from the cold calculations of his corporate world and embrace a moment of pure, unfiltered humanity. In that instant, Ethan's perception of worth was redefined. The small red toy car, with all its sentimental value, was worth far more than the arbitrary price tag of $10 that Liam had hoped to fetch. It was a symbol of love, sacrifice, and the unyielding hope of a child desperate to save his mother. With a calm yet determined expression, Ethan reached into the inner pocket of his tailored suit jacket and pulled out a checkbook. The quiet murmur of the market faded into the background as he carefully filled out the check, each stroke of his pen a declaration that some things in life were beyond the reach of monetary valuation. "Liam," he said softly, "this isn't just a toy car. It's a token of your love for your mother, and I believe that deserves more than just $10. In a gesture that would change the trajectory of both their lives, Ethan handed Liam a check for $10,000. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Liam's eyes widened in disbelief as he clutched the check, his small fingers trembling as if holding a fragile lifeline. The weight of the moment was palpable. This was not just a financial transaction, but an acknowledgement of his courage and the sacrifices he'd made in the face of overwhelming adversity. Every hardship, every tear, every whispered hope was now validated by this act of generosity. As Liam looked up, trying to find words to express his gratitude, Ethan continued, "Your toy car was never meant to be just a plaything. It's a symbol of your heart, and I want you to know that sometimes the smallest gestures can spark the greatest changes." His words were gentle yet resolute, each syllable imbued with sincerity. In that instant, Liam understood that his sacrifice was not in vain, that his simple act of love had ignited a chain reaction of kindness. The onlookers at the market, who had momentarily paused to witness the unusual exchange, resumed their activities, unaware of the profound transformation that was unfolding right before their eyes. For Liam, however, the check was not merely paper. It was a beacon of hope, a promise that his mother's suffering might soon come to an end. His heart swelled with gratitude and a newfound sense of possibility that he had never dared to imagine before. In the days that followed, the check became a catalyst for change in Liam's life. Anna, who had once been overwhelmed by the challenges of her illness and the financial burdens that came with it, found herself buoyed by the unexpected windfall. The $10,000 allowed her to access the treatment she so desperately needed, and it opened the door to a future that, until that moment, had seemed bleak and unattainable. For Ethan, the encounter was equally transformative. His decision to make an extraordinary offer had set him on a path of self-reflection. It forced him to confront the stark contrast between the sterile world of business and the raw, unfiltered emotion of human experience. The generous check was more than just money. It was a declaration that empathy and compassion held power beyond any balance sheet. As the day turned to dusk, the impact of that life-changing offer rippled far beyond the confines of the flea market. It was a reminder that sometimes an unexpected act of kindness could light the way through the darkest of times, forging connections that transcended wealth, status, and circumstance. In that quiet moment, two lives had been forever intertwined, setting the stage for a journey that would reshape the boundaries of love, sacrifice, and human connection. When Anna first laid eyes on the check, her hands trembled as she clutched it to her chest. The unexpected generosity from a complete stranger left her feeling both immensely grateful and deeply conflicted. Anna had lived her life carefully, always wary of the world's unpredictability and the unexpected gifts it sometimes offered. Now, faced with this overwhelming token of kindness, she found herself in the grip of a profound inner turmoil. For years, Anna had been the steadfast caregiver to young Liam, a silent warrior who fought each day against an unrelenting illness. Every medication, every hospital visit, and every moment of despair had chipped away at her confidence, leaving behind a residue of doubt about whether they would ever see the light at the end of the tunnel. The check, $10,000 in crisp, and signed certainty, seemed like a miracle. Yet, it also stirred a deep-seated suspicion within her. How could such a vast sum appear so suddenly? And what did it truly mean for her family? That evening, as the setting sun cast long shadows across the modest living room they shared, Anna sat by the window, the check spread out on the table before her. The paper, cool and sterile, felt at odds with the warmth of her love for Liam, a love that had been tested time and again by hardship. The weight of the check was heavy in her hands, carrying with it the burden of accepting help that seemed too good to be true. In her mind, 1,000 questions swirled like autumn leaves caught in a restless wind. Could she truly accept this fortune without feeling indebted to a stranger whose name and intentions were shrouded in mystery? And yet, the tangible possibility of getting Liam the medicine he desperately needed urged her to consider the offer. With each passing moment, the duality of gratitude and doubt battled within her heart. She was overwhelmed by the kindness offered, yet the scars of past disappointments made it difficult to fully embrace such generosity. Anna's thoughts drifted to the origins of the check, the encounter with Ethan Walker. The memory of the man's sincere gaze and compassionate words resonated with her, even as the uncertainty lingered in the corners of her mind. In that fleeting moment at the flea market, she had witnessed a spark of humanity that transcended conventional expectations. The check wasn't a loan or a favor. It was a gesture of hope and a promise that perhaps the universe was, after all, capable of miracles. Determined to ensure that this gift would not diminish her sense of self-reliance, Anna resolved to repay the kindness in her own way. With the check as both a blessing and a challenge, she took steps to secure a stable job at a local design firm, a position that would allow her to rebuild her life piece by piece. Every day, as she applied her creative skills to her work, she felt a quiet determination growing inside her. It was not enough to simply accept the help. She had to transform it into something lasting, a foundation upon which a better future could be built for both her and Liam. In those long, reflective evenings, as the moonlight softly illuminated her humble abode, Anna began to see the check not as an obligation but as an opportunity, a turning point in their lives. Despite the lingering shadows of doubt, she embraced the gift with a guarded yet hopeful heart. The dual forces of gratitude and resolve would soon guide her on a journey of self-improvement, ensuring that the kindness bestowed upon her family would be repaid with dedication, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to a brighter tomorrow. Back in the gleaming towers of his corporate world, Ethan Walker found himself unable to shake the image of a small boy with determined eyes and a red toy car from his mind. The memory of Liam and his mother, Anna, became an unexpected constant in his thoughts, reverberating through his busy days of board meetings and strategic negotiations. For a man whose life was dominated by numbers and calculated risks, these recollections were both jarring and profoundly moving. Ethan's mind often wandered to that serendipitous moment at the flea market. The strength of Liam's conviction, the tender vulnerability in his voice, and Anna's quiet struggle all painted a picture of life's delicate balance between hardship and hope. With each passing day, as he sat in his high-rise office overlooking the city, Ethan questioned the true worth of wealth. How many times had he calculated profits and losses, yet forgotten that every number represented a human story, stories like those of Anna and Liam. Late at night, after the day's clamor had quieted and the hum of the city settled into a soft lull, Ethan's thoughts grew even more introspective. He began to wonder if the money he had given would indeed be enough to alleviate Anna's suffering. Did his gesture truly help, or had it merely served as a fleeting distraction from the deeper challenges they faced? These questions tormented him as he meticulously reviewed financial reports and business strategies, his mind split between the cold logic of his work and the warm echoes of the market encounter. Determined to find answers, Ethan began quietly tracking the progress of Anna's treatment, discreetly reaching out through mutual contacts and quietly inquiring about the local hospital's success rates. His initial curiosity had evolved into a deep-seated concern that transcended the transactional nature of his original act. It was no longer just about a check or a toy car. It was about the well-being of two lives that had unexpectedly intertwined with his own. As days turned into weeks, Ethan's concern grew alongside his sense of responsibility. He began to see reflections of his own lost childhood in Liam's unwavering hope. There was something deeply transformative about that small act of sacrifice, something that echoed in the corridors of his own experiences of loss and longing. The once distant memories of his early days, when every act of kindness felt monumental, now surged back to life, reminding him that the true measure of success was not in profits or market shares, but in the impact one had on the lives of others. Despite his busy schedule, Ethan found himself returning to that memory time and again. It was as if a quiet voice within him was urging him to do more, to step out of the suffocating confines of his world of wealth and rediscover the simple yet profound values that had once defined him. With every passing day, the question grew louder. How could he support Anna and Liam beyond that singular act of generosity? This internal struggle and burgeoning sense of empathy began to influence his decisions. The rigid boundaries of his daily routine started to blur, replaced by the realization that life was far too fleeting to let kindness remain an isolated incident. Ethan resolved to learn more about the family he had touched, to ensure that his actions were not merely transient but would lay the groundwork for a lasting connection, a bridge between two disparate worlds. As Ethan's thoughts churned late into the night, a quiet determination emerged. His heart, once hardened by the relentless demands of business, was slowly softening under the weight of this newfound purpose. The mystery of whether Anna's treatment was successful and if Liam's spirit remained as unyielding as it had been that fateful day compelled him to plan a visit. It was time to step away from the safety of his corporate fortress and enter the very heart of the life he had inadvertently changed. In doing so, he hoped not only to offer continued support, but also to rediscover the deeper meaning behind every human connection. When Ethan finally mustered the courage to venture beyond the sterile corridors of his corporate existence, he set out on a journey to meet Anna and Liam face to face. With trepidation and anticipation coiling in his chest, Ethan traveled to the modest neighborhood where he had first encountered the struggling duo. The city had softened around him, its clamor replaced by the gentle hum of community and familiarity that only a close-knit neighborhood could offer. The day of their reunion dawned with a soft, golden light that seemed to promise new beginnings. Ethan's arrival was unannounced. A quiet visit meant not to intrude, but to reconnect with the very human story that had so profoundly altered his perspective. As he walked up the familiar lane, memories of that rainy day at the flea market surged back, blending seamlessly with the anticipation of a fresh start. Anna and Liam had not only managed to survive the turbulent days following Ethan's generous act, but they had also started to rebuild their lives with a newfound sense of hope. Anna's resilience had flourished as she embraced her work at the design firm, her creative spirit guiding her through each challenge. The home they shared, once marked by the quiet despair of financial burdens, now resonated with the warmth of laughter and the soft murmur of everyday life. When Ethan arrived at their doorstep, Liam was the first to notice him. The boy's face lit up with excitement, a pure, unfiltered joy that only a child's heart could express. "Mr. Ethan," Liam exclaimed, his voice carrying the innocent delight of a reunion long awaited. With arms outstretched, Liam invited Ethan inside, and in that moment, the invisible barrier between worlds dissolved. Anna, who had been preparing a simple meal, paused in her kitchen as her eyes met Ethan's, a blend of surprise, gratitude, and cautious curiosity reflecting in her gaze. Inside the humble living room, the air was thick with unspoken questions and tentative hope. Over a modest dinner that evening, the trio sat together, two very different lives united by an unexpected bond. Anna listened intently as Ethan recounted his own journey of rediscovery, his voice soft and reflective. In turn, she shared the challenges and small victories of her daily life, painting a vivid picture of struggle, resilience, and the unyielding strength of the human spirit. Liam's enthusiastic interjections, filled with stories from school and playful antics, bridged the gap between the adult complexities and the simplicity of youth. Every laugh, every shared glance, and every silent moment filled with understanding forged a connection that transcended the initial transaction. Ethan was no longer just the man who had written a check. He was a friend, a mentor, and perhaps even a guardian of hope. As the evening deepened into night, it became clear that this reunion marked not just a chance meeting, but the genesis of something far more profound. A new beginning that promised growth, healing, and an enduring bond. For Anna, the presence of Ethan stirred a cautious optimism. For Liam, it meant an extra pair of hands and an even bigger heart to help shoulder life's challenges. And for Ethan, the reunion affirmed that the act of kindness had evolved into something far richer than he had ever imagined. A deep connection that had the potential to change lives on both sides. The meeting ended with a quiet understanding. As Ethan prepared to leave that night, the soft glow of the porch light illuminated their silhouettes, a symbol of the fragile yet enduring hope that now tethered their hearts together. In the silence that followed, each person felt the stirrings of new beginnings, a promise that sometimes, in the most unexpected moments, life could offer a second chance, a chance to create a family out of fragments of loss, and to build a future anchored in love, trust, and mutual care. In the days following Ethan's heartfelt visit, Anna found herself in a maelstrom of emotions. The generous gift that had once seemed so overwhelming now spurred an unwavering determination within her. Every day, as she navigated the challenges of her illness and the demands of her new job at the design firm, the check for $10,000 lingered in her mind, a constant reminder of the kindness that had arrived when hope was nearly lost. Anna was resolute in her desire to repay Ethan's generosity, not as a repayment of debt, but as a reaffirmation of her commitment to rebuild her life with dignity and self-respect. Driven by an inner strength that had carried her through the darkest moments, Anna began to explore ways to express her gratitude. One crisp morning, as sunlight filtered through the thin curtains of her modest apartment, she resolved to visit Ethan's company in person. Dressed in her best professional attire, a simple yet elegant ensemble that reflected both her determination and her humility, she set out with a mixture of hope and trepidation. This visit, she believed, was not just a formal act of repayment, but a chance to bridge the gap between gratitude and friendship. At the towering glass building of Ethan's firm, Anna felt a palpable sense of being out of place. The sleek corridors and the aura of precision were a far cry from the modest world she had known. Yet, the memory of that fateful encounter at the flea market buoyed her spirit. With a steady hand and a determined heart, she approached the reception desk and asked to speak with Ethan Walker. After a brief moment of hesitation, her request was granted. In the plush meeting room, the atmosphere was charged with an air of formality. Anna's voice, though soft, was resolute as she explained her desire to return the $10,000. "Mr. Walker," she said, her eyes earnest, "this money is not something I wish to repay as a debt. It represents a lifeline that has helped me and Liam, and I feel compelled to honor that generosity." Her words, sincere and heartfelt, hung in the air as she waited for his response. Ethan's reaction was one of gentle amusement and admiration. He listened carefully, his eyes reflecting a warmth that belied his corporate exterior. "Anna," he said, "please understand, this was never a loan. It was a gift, a gesture of faith in you and Liam's future." His tone was both reassuring and kind, making it clear that the money was meant to be a stepping stone rather than a burden. Yet, Anna's determination did not wane. She insisted that she wanted to contribute her own efforts, to work alongside him in a partnership that transcended mere financial transactions. In the weeks that followed, Anna and Ethan began to meet informally over dinners and casual coffee sessions. Their conversations, initially tinged with the formality of a repayment, soon evolved into warm exchanges about life, art, and the nature of kindness. Anna shared her struggles and triumphs at the design firm, while Ethan recounted stories of business challenges that unexpectedly led to personal growth. Each meeting deepened their connection, forging a relationship based on mutual respect and a shared belief that life's most significant gifts were those of love and human connection. For Anna, every gesture of gratitude was a small victory, a testament to her resolve to repay kindness not by money, but by transforming that kindness into inspiration and creative energy. As she continued to build her new life, the determination to honor Ethan's gift became a silent promise that echoed in every stroke of her creative work and every compassionate act she extended to those around her. In this quiet revolution of gratitude and determination, Anna discovered that sometimes the true repayment of a gift was not a monetary return, but the blossoming of hope, resilience, and a heart that refused to be defined by hardship. As the seasons changed, the relationship between Ethan, Anna, and Liam blossomed in ways none of them had anticipated. Their initial encounters, sparked by a serendipitous act of generosity, had evolved into something deeply personal, a tapestry of shared moments woven together with threads of trust, affection, and a newfound sense of belonging. Dinners, casual outings, and impromptu visits became a regular rhythm in their lives. In the cozy atmosphere of Anna's modest home, laughter mingled with gentle conversation, each shared moment reinforcing the bonds that connected them. Liam, with the unfiltered joy of childhood, continued to call Ethan Mr. Ethan, a nickname that carried both affection and a sense of respect. His innocent presence, full of unbridled enthusiasm and unspoken wisdom, became the glue that bound their worlds together. Ethan, once a man whose life had been measured by profit margins and boardroom victories, began to see the world through a softer lens. His heart, once insulated by the rigors of business, opened wider with each shared smile and every tender moment spent with Anna and Liam. In their company, he rediscovered the simple pleasures of life. Moments of spontaneous laughter, quiet walks in the park, and evenings filled with heartfelt conversations that transcended the superficiality of his previous existence. For Anna, the growing closeness of their relationship provided a soothing counterpoint to the trials of her daily life. The challenges of her illness and the pressures of a new career were no longer faced in isolation. They were shared burdens, lightened by the warmth of genuine companionship. As she confided in Ethan about her creative projects and the subtle victories that punctuated her days, she found not only understanding but also inspiration. Together, they dreamt of a future where the bonds forged in moments of vulnerability could be celebrated and nurtured. In time, the trio's connection began to extend beyond the confines of casual meetings. They embarked on small adventures, weekend trips to a nearby lakeside, visits to local art exhibits, and even a community project where they volunteered at a shelter. With each excursion, Ethan's guarded facade melted away further, revealing a man capable of deep, heartfelt emotion and an earnest desire to be a part of something larger than himself. The vibrancy of these experiences imprinted lasting memories on all of them, forging a legacy of kindness and shared humanity. Yet, amidst this warmth, subtle challenges began to emerge. Ethan, whose heart had grown tender in the presence of Anna and Liam, found himself wrestling with internal conflicts. The burgeoning closeness, so profound and sincere, also brought with it the weight of expectations and the fear of eventual loss. There were moments when Ethan's mind would retreat into caution, haunted by the possibility that such a delicate bond might be too precious to risk. Nevertheless, each time that fear crept in, Liam's innocent reassurances and Anna's steady resolve dispelled the shadows of doubt. Their presence was a constant reminder that love, when shared honestly, was worth every risk. The laughter around the dinner table, the warm embraces after long days, and the simple comfort of knowing someone cared deeply for you slowly transformed Ethan's internal battle into a quiet determination to keep building on the foundation they had established. The days melded into months, and with each passing moment, the trio's connection deepened. They were no longer simply individuals bound by a singular act of kindness. They had become a makeshift family, united by experiences that transcended money, social status, or the rigid lines of their former lives. In the gentle unfolding of time, they learned that the most profound relationships were not born of grand gestures alone, but from the consistent, quiet acts of care that, together, built a home in the heart. As the bond between Ethan, Anna, and Liam grew stronger, a shadow of fear began to creep into Ethan's once hopeful heart. Despite the closeness they had nurtured over months, the scars of past heartbreak, and the weight of his own vulnerabilities, whispered reminders of loss. In the quiet moments of solitude that punctuated his high-powered business life, Ethan found himself overwhelmed by an internal struggle. His heart, which had opened so tenderly to the warmth of this newfound family, now trembled at the thought of future pain. Ethan's fear was not born out of any concrete evidence that the bond would shatter. Rather, it was a subtle echo of past disappointments and personal failures. The intensity of his feelings for Anna and Liam frightened him because it threatened to expose him to the possibility of heartbreak once again. As he juggled the responsibilities of his corporate empire with the delicate care required to nurture this fragile relationship, Ethan began to find solace in distance. He crafted excuses and missed scheduled visits, each withdrawal a small attempt to shield himself from the vulnerability of attachment. Anna, ever perceptive, sensed the growing gulf between them. While she recognized Ethan's inner turmoil, she chose not to confront it head-on. Instead, she quietly redirected her focus to Liam, channeling her love and strength into ensuring that the little boy continued to feel secure and cherished. Every missed call and delayed visit left a silent ache in her heart, yet she held on to the hope that this distance was temporary, a storm that would eventually pass. Liam, in his youthful innocence, did not fully grasp the complexities of Ethan's withdrawal. Still, his unfiltered questions and observations began to hint at the subtle changes in the man who had once been a constant source of joy and reassurance. One afternoon, as he wandered the quiet streets near their home, Liam mustered the courage to ask, "Why don't you come to see us anymore, Mr. Ethan? It used to be fun when you were here." His words, simple and sincere, reverberated with the raw honesty of youth, a reminder that love should be constant and unencumbered by fear. Ethan, upon hearing Liam's heartfelt question, found himself caught in the throes of introspection. His mind raced through memories of lost opportunities and the deep-seated pain of previous disappointments. Each excuse he had made, each postponed visit, now seemed insignificant compared to the possibility of losing the bond that had breathed new life into him. And yet, the habit of retreating into distance had become all too familiar, a self-imposed barrier erected to keep the past from repeating itself. As the days grew shorter and the chill of approaching winter set in, Ethan's internal conflict deepened. The silence between his heart and the warmth of his newfound family grew louder with every passing moment. In quiet, solitary nights, he would lie awake, grappling with the fear that his own vulnerabilities might ultimately drive them apart. Yet, even in his darkest moments, the faces of Anna and Liam would emerge from the shadows of his thoughts, compelling him to reconsider the true cost of emotional retreat. In this period of growing distance and fear, the trio's interactions became tinged with a bittersweet air of longing. While Anna and Liam continued to extend their love with quiet patience, Ethan struggled to break free from the grip of his own insecurities. The fear of impending loss, of having his heart shattered once more, kept him tethered to a habit of withdrawal, a habit that threatened to unravel the beautiful tapestry of connection they had all worked so hard to weave. For Ethan, the growing distance was both a shield and a prison, a self-imposed barrier designed to protect him from further pain, yet one that also isolated him from the very source of love that had begun to heal him. The silent chasm between them was a stark reminder that even the most profound bonds could falter under the weight of internal fears, leaving behind the lingering question, could love, in all its fragility, truly conquer the specter of past heartache? One cool, crisp afternoon, as the fading sunlight cast long shadows over the neighborhood, Liam felt an unfamiliar weight in his heart. The once frequent visits from Mr. Ethan had grown increasingly rare, and the absence was beginning to resonate deeply within the small boy's tender soul. Determined to reclaim the warmth and laughter that had once filled their home, Liam resolved to confront Ethan, armed only with the sincerity of a child and the unfiltered honesty that only youth can muster. Liam's decision was as impulsive as it was brave. The boy remembered a time when Ethan's visits had been a regular highlight of his days, a time when Mr. Ethan's presence brought not only joy, but also a comforting sense of security to both him and his mother, Anna. The silence that now defined Ethan's absence was puzzling and painful. Fueled by a simple yet powerful question, Liam embarked on a small journey through the familiar streets, determined to find answers. With a determined stride that belied his young age, Liam made his way to the park where he had last seen Ethan. The park, usually filled with the laughter of children and the rustling of leaves in the wind, felt strangely empty as he searched for the familiar figure. Finally, near a quiet bench beneath a sprawling oak tree, he found him, Ethan, sitting alone, his expression clouded by an inner storm of regret and hesitation. "Mr. Ethan," Liam said softly, approaching with a courage that startled even the gentle rustle of the wind. "Why don't you come to see us anymore? You always made Mama so happy when you were here." The boy's voice was steady, each word a small beacon of truth in the midst of unspoken fears. Ethan looked up, startled by the directness of the child's question. In that moment, the facade of corporate composure crumbled, revealing the raw vulnerability beneath. The sincerity in Liam's eyes, unclouded by adult cynicism, pierced through the layers of Ethan's carefully constructed defenses. The silence that followed was filled with the unspoken understanding that sometimes the simplest questions could force even the most guarded hearts to confront their own demons. Liam's confrontation was not born of anger or resentment, but of pure, unadulterated love, a plea for the return of the joy and connection that had once made their lives brighter. His small voice carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken words, each syllable a reminder that love was best expressed without fear or hesitation. Ethan's heart ached as he listened, the child's words echoing the pain of his own self-imposed isolation. In that quiet moment beneath the ancient oak, Ethan felt a stirring of hope, a spark of realization that he had allowed fear to drive a wedge between him and the very people who had helped him rediscover his humanity. Liam's innocent question, so direct and sincere, served as a mirror reflecting the truth that Ethan had been reluctant to face. That love required courage, vulnerability, and the willingness to let go of the past. It was a call to return to the family he had inadvertently come to cherish, a call that resonated with every beat of his now trembling heart. With tears welling in his eyes, Ethan reached out and gently ruffled Liam's hair, a silent promise that he would no longer let fear dictate his actions. The encounter marked a turning point, a bold confrontation that shattered the barriers of distance and allowed love to flow once again, unencumbered by the ghosts of yesterday. In that defining moment, Ethan vowed to embrace the present, to mend the cracks in their fragile bond, and to allow the simple, earnest love of a child to guide him back to a place where connection and trust could flourish once more. In the weeks that followed Liam's heartfelt confrontation, Ethan underwent a profound inner transformation. The simple yet piercing question from the little boy reverberated through his every waking moment. "Why don't you come see us anymore?" had become a mantra, a constant reminder of the family he had come to love and the fear that had nearly driven him away. The introspection that ensued led Ethan to a startling realization. Anna and Liam were not merely beneficiaries of his generosity. They were the family he had long been missing. The realization dawned slowly but unmistakably. In his lavish office and in the solitude of quiet nights, Ethan began to see the stark contrast between the cold logic of business and the warm, unpredictable cadence of human life. Memories of his own childhood, days filled with laughter, playful mischief, and unconditional love, surfaced in vivid detail. He recalled a time when every act of kindness was met with gratitude and every smile was shared without hesitation. The thought that he could, once again, recapture that innocence and authenticity filled him with an overwhelming desire to reconnect. Determined to put an end to his self-imposed isolation, Ethan reached out to Anna with a simple message. He wanted to see them again. The invitation was not laden with grand expectations, but with the promise of genuine, unguarded connection. Anna, who had weathered the storms of her own struggles with quiet strength, welcomed the gesture with a cautious yet hopeful heart. In their next meeting, amidst familiar laughter and shared memories, Ethan expressed his newfound commitment to be a part of their lives, a part of the family he never knew he needed. As days turned into months, Ethan's renewed presence began to heal old wounds. Together, they celebrated small victories, a successful treatment session for Anna, a joyful school performance by Liam, a heartfelt conversation that bridged past misunderstandings. Each moment, no matter how seemingly insignificant, stitched together the fabric of a family that had once been fragmented by fear and distance. Ethan no longer imagined a future devoid of Anna's gentle smile or Liam's infectious laughter. Instead, He envisioned a life filled with shared meals, spontaneous adventures, and the kind of heartfelt conversations that built trust and deepened bonds. The transformation was not without its challenges. There were still moments when old fears whispered from the shadows, threatening to undo the progress they had made. But with every setback, the strength of their connection proved resilient. Ethan's return was more than a personal triumph. It was a testament to the enduring power of love and the possibility of redemption through vulnerability. With each passing day, he embraced his role not just as a benefactor, but as a mentor, friend, and family member who stood shoulder to shoulder with Anna and Liam. In the final analysis, what began as an impulsive act of kindness had evolved into a lifelong commitment. Ethan's journey from corporate isolation to the warmth of a shared family life was marked by moments of reckoning, courage, and ultimately, profound connection. He discovered that the true wealth in life was not measured in dollars or investments, but in the quiet moments of shared laughter, mutual support, and the beauty of a love that transcended boundaries. In accepting the vulnerability that came with being part of this family, Ethan found a sense of fulfillment and purpose that no boardroom victory could ever offer. Years later, the story of Ethan, Anna, and Liam had become a living testament to the transformative power of kindness, vulnerability, and the courage to embrace life's uncertainties. The once fragmented lives of a determined little boy, a resilient mother, and a guarded billionaire had merged into a tapestry rich with shared experiences, heartfelt lessons, and the timeless promise of new beginnings. In a modest home that brimmed with warmth and the echoes of laughter, Anna continued to inspire others with her creative spirit and unyielding determination. Her journey from despair to hope became a story shared in quiet corners of community centers and in the whispered gratitude of those who had witnessed her strength. Liam, now a young man with eyes that sparkled with the innocence of his childhood and the wisdom of his experiences, carried forward the legacy of his sacrifice and the lessons of unselfish love. His life, though marked by early hardship, blossomed into a future filled with promise, his every step a tribute to the resilience of the human spirit. Ethan, too, had changed irrevocably. The man who had once been defined solely by boardroom decisions and profit margins had discovered a deeper purpose, a purpose that lay in the everyday miracles of connection and empathy. His journey, catalyzed by a single act of kindness and a brave confrontation by a young child, had led him to build not just a business empire, but a home filled with love, trust, and mutual respect. His story, once a testament to corporate success, had been transformed into a living narrative of redemption and personal growth. Their lives, intertwined by fate and nurtured by shared compassion, served as a beacon of hope in a world often divided by indifference. They demonstrated that family could be chosen and built, not solely defined by blood, but by the bonds of trust, empathy, and a willingness to overcome one's own fears. In the gentle unfolding of their days, they celebrated every small victory. A sunrise watched together on a quiet morning, shared meals that nourished both body and soul, and conversations that mended old wounds. The epilogue of their journey was not a conclusion but a new beginning, a living story that continued to evolve with each passing day. It was a reminder that no matter how challenging life might become, the strength of the human spirit could overcome adversity, forging connections that not only healed the heart but enriched the soul. Their family, built on a foundation of selfless acts and the courage to love unconditionally, stood as proof that sometimes the most extraordinary journeys begin with the simplest of acts, a sacrifice, a kind word, and the unwavering belief that every heart deserves to be heard and cherished. In the twilight of a life well lived, as the three sat together on a worn but cherished porch swing, they knew that their bond was unbreakable. They had rewritten their destinies, not through grand gestures or monumental achievements, but through the quiet persistence of love and the deep, abiding hope that had first sparked in the heart of a little boy at a flea market. Their story was a testament to the transformative power of compassion, a narrative that would inspire generations to come, proving that family is not defined by the circumstances of one's birth, but by the courage to embrace life, to overcome fear, and to love without reservation. Thank you so much for watching until the very end of this story. If it touched your heart or made you believe in the power of kindness and second chances, please take a moment to like this video. It really helps us bring more meaningful stories to life. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss another heartfelt journey. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and share how this story made you feel. Your support means the world to me.